Thank you very much for allowing me to speak at your event through this message. I'm delighted that you meet virtually to discuss how we can make Europe world-class in the development of a secure, trustworthy and human-centered artificial intelligence without compromising on our values. 2 weeks ago, we presented a landmark proposal of this European Commission, our first ever legal framework on artificial intelligence. It's part of a wider package, which also includes a new coordinated plan with member states. As we already put it in our white paper on AI last year, an ecosystem of trust goes hand in hand with an ecosystem of excellence. On the one hand, our regulation addresses the human and societal risks associated with specific uses of AI. This is to create trust. On the other hand, our coordinated plan outlines the necessary steps that member states should take to boost investment and innovation, to guarantee excellence. All this to ensure that we strengthen the uptake of AI across Europe. Already today, artificial intelligence is bringing great benefits to our lives, and we've only seen the beginning of it. As we speak, it is saving lives thanks to better diagnosis. It is contributing to deliver on our Green Deal by helping farmers to optimize their use of resources. Those examples, I think they illustrate what we want AI in Europe to be, a force for progress. So we need to build trust in AI systems. We can only reap the full benefits of AI's societal and economic potential if we can trust that we can mitigate the associated risks. To do so, our proposed legal framework looks at how AI is used and what for. It's grounded on one simple logic. The higher the risk that a specific AI may cause to our lives, the stricter the rules. On that basis, we classify the use of AI into 4 different categories. As in a pyramid, at the large bottom, we find the great majority of AI applications that represents minimal risks. For instance, filters that recognize spam messages and block them from entering your inbox. Or in a factory, to minimize the amount of waste to optimize the use of resources. Our legal framework allows a free use of such applications without any restrictions on top of the legal rules that already exist to protect consumers. A bit higher up the pyramid are the limited risk uses, such as a chatbot that helps us book a ticket or find the closest store. Those chatbots, they're also allowed subject to transparency obligations, to make it crystal clear to us that we are interacting with the machine. In the third level of the pyramid, we find the high-risk uses of AI, the main focus of our framework. They are considered high-risk because they interfere with important aspects of our lives. We are, for example, talking about artificial intelligence that filters through candidates' curriculums for education and job applications. Or systems that will assess if someone is allowed to get a mortgage from the bank. Or software that is used in self-driving cars or medical devices, and which may bring new risks to our safety and health. Those AI systems will be subject to a new set of 5 strict obligations because they could potentially have a huge impact on our lives. First, AI providers are required to feed their systems with high-quality data to make sure the results don't come out biased or discriminating. Second, they also need to give detailed documentation about how their AI system works for authorities to assess their compliance. Thirdly, providers must share substantial information with users to help them understand and properly use the AI system. Fourth, they have to ensure an appropriate level of human oversight both in the design and the implementation of the artificial intelligence. Fifth and finally, they must respect the highest standards of cybersecurity and accuracy. At the very top of the pyramid, we find those limited uses of AI that we prohibit altogether, because we simply consider them unacceptable. It is AI systems that use subliminal techniques to cause physical or psychological harm to someone. For example, in the case of a toy that uses voice assistants to manipulate a child into doing something dangerous. Such uses have no place in Europe. One specific use of AI fits in both the high-risk and the prohibited categories. It is remote biometric identification. Biometric identification can be used for many purposes. Some of them are not problematic. For instance, at border controls by custom authorities, or when signing with our fingerprints or by face recognition. In our proposal, we focus on remote biometric identification, where many people are being screened simultaneously. We treat any use of it as highly risky from a fundamental rights point of view. And that is why we subject remote biometric identification to even stricter rules than other high-risk use cases. But there is one situation where that may not be enough. That is when remote biometric identification is used in real time by law enforcement authorities in public places. There's no room for mass surveillance in our society. And that is why in our proposal the use of biometric identification in public places is prohibited by principle. We propose very narrow exceptions that are strictly defined, limited and regulated. Those are extreme cases, such as when police authorities need it in search of a missing child. People often say that innovation and regulation are contradictions in terms. I don't think this is true. They are two sides of the same coin, provided that the regulation is targeted and proportionate. There is one thing that the business community needs more than anything else, and that is legal certainty. With our legal framework, we make Europe the place to roll out AI solutions in a trustworthy and legally sound way. This is what we need to create a prosperous and sustainable future in Europe. Thank you.